Hello and welcome to one another exciting session of the Expert Insight series, where we interview worldwide expert spine surgeons. My name is Vajiha. I'm an orthopedic resident from UK. And I'm honored to have with me the world-renowned spine surgeon, Dr. Raphae Charest Morin. She is the program chair of the Canadian Spine Society, member of the AO Spine North America. She is also an active member of the AO Spine Knowledge Forum, working to advance patient care and treatment for patients with both metastatic and primary spine tumors, which is one of her primary research interests. And currently, she is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Orthopedics, Spine Division at the University of British Columbia. I'm privileged to have you and welcome you to the Expert Insight series. Good evening. Thank you for accepting our invitation. How are you today?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Let's start the interview. Could you share a bit about your roots? What's your hometown?
Yeah, so I'm from Quebec, so the province of Quebec in Canada. So as you may hear, I have a little French accent. So I was born and raised in that province. So raised in a little town outside of Quebec City. It was a very nice place to grow up. And now I'm still in Canada, but on the other part of the country. So I'm on the West Coast now, so the weather is better.
Let's talk about your training. Where did you train and when did you complete your residency?
So I did all my training, like my med school residency in Quebec City. So I trained at Laval University, which is the one that was close to to my hometown. So I did my training there. So I did orthopedic surgery. So I did 5 years of residency there. I finished my residency in 2014. Then I wanted to do spine surgery and I wanted to do also tumor work. So I went to Vancouver General Hospital where I trained with Dr. Fisher, which I think was one of your previous interviewees. So I trained with him 1 year. And after that, I went back to Quebec City. I worked there for 3 years. And I've moved back to Vancouver because this was such a great place in 2018. And I've been here since.
And why did you choose spine surgery? What do you think are the pros and cons of becoming a spine surgeon?
So when I entered orthopedic surgery, I wanted to do MSK oncology. So I've always been interested with tumors. And when I started orthopedic surgery, I wanted to work in Quebec City. That was my main goal, but there was no option for me to do MSK oncology there. So I was like looking at my option and other things I liked, and I thought that I wanted to do MSK spine surgery. I really fell in love with spine as I thought it was very you could do about everything in a way that you have very delicate surgery, very big surgery, and I just thought it was a nice fit for me. And dealing with a tumor of the spine, I thought was like a great challenge. About the pros and cons of becoming a spine surgeon, if you are you ortho trained, you're ortho trained, so
Yes,
it's
I'm
very
not
different
sure.
from. So it's a bit different, like the pros and cons. So the cons is like the complications are kind of terrible if you have like a neurologic injury. So it's a bit different from ortho. It's a different uh, type of surgery. But the pros is, I mean, these are fun surgery. They're always different. They're challenging, and you never get bored. So that's why I think spine is the best.
That's correct. And as a female spine surgeon, I know you mentioned about Dr. Fisher. Anybody else who inspired you the most? And any specific challenges you encounter in as a female in the field?
So when I did my orthopedic residency, when I started my residency, there was no other female orthopedic surgeon. Like there was a lot of trainees that were female, but there was no staff that were female when I started my orthopedic residency. So I didn't have any kind of female mentor or people went like that. But the MSK surgeon in Quebec City, I thought was an amazing human being and an amazing surgeon. So it really kind of pushed me into this. So he really was my mentor during residency. And then Dr. Fisher was really important, and Dr. Boyd were really important in teaching me how to do spine surgery for the tumor patients. So I think they really inspired me with their patient care, and that was really inspirational. As what are the specific challenges? I feel I was blessed in where I trained that being a female was not considered like a difficulty. Like I had very supportive group of people that pushed me through residency. Didn't feel much challenge. I even had a baby during residency, and everyone was really supportive. So I didn't have gender specific challenge, but I think the challenge was to juggle being a mother and a resident at the same time, and then being a mother a second time and starting practice was also a challenge. But people were really supportive of that.
And how important it is to have a mentor in your career?
So I think it's really important because you have to make big decisions. Like, it's not just whether you want to be a spine surgeon, it's also how you want to frame your career, what your objective, and like what's a realistic or non-realistic objective, and how you should, plan your strategy to get to your objective. So having a mentor who's been through this is very important. And mentoring is super important, but like sponsoring as well. When you're starting your career, you want people to give you the opportunities to go speak to the meeting or like to lead projects. So you need to have people. It's kind of a combination of mentoring and sponsoring, but I think these are super important early on in your career to have people that give you the opportunities to push your career forward.
And how do you maintain work-life balance? I know you mentioned about your kid, and how did you manage home and work?
I think it's a team sport. So you have to have people with you. You have people to support you and surround you. So I'm very lucky to have a very supportive husband who has been very helping us out. Like when our kids are getting older now, but when they were really young, this is a challenging time definitely to maintain work-life balance when your kids are going to bed at 7 and you're coming back at 7. So it can be a bit challenging. So I think having someone like that can help you out, and that's probably the key piece because you cannot do this alone. And also, it's important for me, like when I get home, trying to disconnect from work, so trying to spend time with your kids. And I'm pretty sure now that working can be like a black hole. You can work 24 hours, 7 days, there's still more work to do. So you have to set that pause and like take this time away and say, "Doc, now this is a time with my kid. I'll open my laptop when they're sleeping later on."
Every professional has that one memorable case. What was yours, and what you learned from the case?
Well, I guess it's not a spine case. It's when I was I was in med school. So when I started to when I told you that one of my mentor was a MSK orthopedic surgeon, and he came when I was a med student. He came to give a lecture at the university, and I thought this is so interesting. I'd like to see what he's doing. So I reached out to him, and then he said, "Well, you can come to the OR with me today." And I remember we were doing a osteosarcoma of the femur, and he had to do a total replacement and like remove the tumor and do the surgery. And I remember it was the first time I was scrubbed ever because I was not even in like residency or like doing my internship. So I was there in the OR and I was just like, this is amazing. This is the best day of my life. Like I understood nothing. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I thought like when he put the trials, we were done. But it was just this moment where like, wow, surgery is like very powerful. You can like, impact people like, this patient could have died without that surgery. And it's just like you're creating a functional, like with the new joint and all that. I just thought this was amazing. And this is a moment where I said to myself, like, I want to do orthopedic surgery. I want to deal with patients with tumor. And then spine came later on. But that was like the moment where I decided I want to be a surgeon.
And as a faculty member of the AO Spine, how important do you think, or how much AO Spine has influenced your career?
Well, I think spine has been very crucial in the development of my career. I was lucky to be, as soon as I finished my fellowship, I became part of the Knowledge Forum Tumor Group. And, there's a lot of people in there, people that are known expert, and you develop relationship with those people really quickly. So it's really good, from a clinical perspective, if you have a question, these are people that you know and you feel comfortable to reach to, but it also provides you a network when you're doing research. And I think this really played a role in my career for sure.
And we all know you're part of the AO Education Forum. How important do you think it is for a spine surgeon to engage in research and teaching?
I think it's super important because, researchers, we do our work, we do publish our paper, but the problem is how this get translated into the community or like to the new learners, because not everyone is going to read your paper. Like I don't think like I'm doing just like landmark paper, but there is like a message in the research that you're doing. So if you just put it in a publication or in a journal, it doesn't translate well. So I think it's important that the message that you want to come across, or the learning, like, or the findings that you found are, and that are clinically important, get transferred to people, is really by teaching them and engaging people and telling them, letting them know what's coming, and keep them like wanting to you know, um, move their knowledge forward and change clinical practice. So just publication is not enough to change practice. It has to be taught at on multiple platforms.
And reflecting on your career, what is the achievement you are most proud of?
I think my kids. So I mean, at the end of the day, like I love my job and it's amazing, but like having two beautiful like little humans, like, and they're like amazing human being, and I don't take full credit, but I think we're really important in developing them. So I think that's what I'm most proud of. And despite me working hard and sometimes not being home all the time, I still have those two amazing human beings that hopefully will have a great relationship for the rest of, like, we'll be close for forever, I hope.
If you were not a spine surgeon, what other specialty you would have chosen?
Well, I think I would have done MSK oncology, like in ortho. So I think I was doomed to be an orthopedic surgeon.
And I think the next question is very important because as a trainee, I always feel, we all have those good and bad days, but what motivates you on your challenging days?
Yeah, good and bad days. Yeah. So I think going home and know that, at the end of the day, you're going back to your family, you're going back to your safe place is always reassuring. So I think that's an important thing. And I think also putting in perspective what's a bad day. So like, of course, like sometimes you get terrible complication, but it's important also to be able to discuss when you're having a bad day, having someone that will, having someone you can exchange why you think it's a bad day, because sometimes it's a lot of perception. So you get in your head and like, just spin around and it's not that bad in the end. But if you're able to talk with someone, you realize that, okay, that's not great, but this is not as bad as it seems, and what the next step moving forward. So how to deal with the bad day is to talk with someone you trust, and that you can also can sometimes de-dramatize the situation, and that helps. And knowing that at the end of the day you still have a loving family is really important, and you go back home and you can decompress.
I think that's definitely a really good advice for all of us. And if you could turn back time, and what advice you would give to your younger self, like what you could have done differently? I know you're still young, sorry, but what you could have done differently?
Well, if I was looking at myself like when I started practice, so when you start, I was really stressed, and I thought that I was not very kind to myself in a way. Like I had very high expectation. You go in practice, you finish your training, you finish your fellowship, you think you're very good, but the first half of practice is very humbling. Like you get your own complication, and you have to deal with everything, and it's really on you. So I was really having very high expectations. So whenever I get a complication, I was really like devastated. Like it really took me a long time to know that, it's not perfect. You're doing your best, and you have to be kind and forgiving to yourself. I'm not saying that you don't should not have high expectation, but you should also have realistic expectation when you're starting practice. So when I wanted everything to be perfect, and like I could not tolerate something not perfect. So that was really hard on myself. So I think you have to learn to let go of some things. You still want to provide the best care, but you also have to understand that a perfect everything perfect every day is not realistic at all.
That's very true, actually. And one advice you would give to female young surgeons who want to pursue spine surgery as a career?
Again, I think you need to be supported. Having, good colleagues, like find the people you trust and that you can, help each other, like work in a collaborative way. And also having people at work, but also people at home that will support you. So I don't think you can do this alone. And that's it's not just for female. I think it's for everyone. I think that having a strong support group and collaboration with other will make the path to get there definitely easier than if you're trying to do it all by yourself.
And what impact do you hope your work will have on your patients, community, and society at large?
Well, I think the with the patient, we see it on a day-to-day basis. Like when you operate on patient and they get better and you learn from there. I think like this, we see this, that's the beauty of being a surgeon. Like we see the impact of what we're doing. I think from a research perspective, I think what we're doing is something that is more longer term. I'm really interested in primary bone tumor and also the metastatic spine, and really into the molecular work, like how we can, be better with this and how we can better predict patient care and outcome and hopefully sometime avoid surgery. So I hope that with the research we're doing, we'll be able to improve the patient care for patients with primary bone tumor and hopefully one day develop like ways that are less invasive for curing their tumors.
And looking ahead, what advancements or emerging technologies in spine surgery you are most excited about?
I think going back to the same answer to what we just talked about, it's not necessarily spine surgery, but I think like the basic science and the DNA testing, the RNA testing, and the epigenetic testing will change the way we treat patients, and hopefully for the best. And I think so. I think that in 10, 15 years, we'll have definitely more tool to help cure our patient. It might not be necessarily spine surgery, but I think surgery will always play a role. But I think with advancement, we'll be so much better at knowing exactly where the tumor is, how we need to be aggressive on what tumor, and to do like the surgery. So I think there's a lot of change that will come in MSK oncology. I think surgery will remain very important, but I think the everything else around it will continue to boom, and we just have to keep updated with this.
And we are almost at the end now. Let's engage in a quick game in which I will ask a question and you reply with a quick one word fast answer. Your hobby?
That would be yoga.
Favorite book?
All the book from Pierre Lemaitre. He's a French author.
Favorite sport and team?
That would be hiking, and there's no team in hiking.
Favorite surgery?
I think doing separation surgery is one of my favorite surgery. I love to teach it.
Navigation or freehand?
Navigation.
Open or minimally invasive surgery?
I'm open. I prefer open surgery, especially because of the big surgery we do.
And one word that defines spine surgery?
Fun.
Thank you so much. That's the end of our interview. Thank you so very much for your time. It has been absolutely honor to actually interview the first female spine surgeon, and it's looking forward to follow your steps. And thank you so much for your time.
That was a pleasure. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much.